Welcome to Pause 23, the bonus episodes in my podcast where I share my personal journey through ketamine assisted therapy for depression. My name is Jen. I'm an author. I am in recovery from self sabotage. I'm a light worker and an everyday person exploring healing one pause at a time. This series is my honest reflection on what it means to face inner shadows, find small openings, and embrace change through ketamine therapy. Please note that this podcast is my personal story. I am not offering professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for treatment decisions. And if you are interested in ketamine assisted therapy or want to learn more, please feel free to visit newvistamentalhealth.com or call 506-975-1393 for more information. Today's episode is episode number 2, and I've titled it The Voice in the Room. This is following my second week, my second day of ketamine therapy. And today I'm going to focus on that little inner critic, that familiar voice that tells us we're not enough. Ketamine therapy in the second session has helped me take a step back from that voice and, for the first time in a while, not believe every word that those little voices are sharing. This episode is about witnessing our mental platforms without judgment. Our mental patterns without judgment, and how the pause makes that possible. So today we're talking about something that we all deal with, and it's that little voice in our head, the one that says you didn't do enough. You should have handled that better. You're not really healing. You're just faking it. That voice used to run the show in my head. I didn't question it. I just believed it. That is until recently. And I had been starting to notice this little voice and putting it in its place. And after this second session of ketamine, I really noticed a difference. I started noticing a change. And again, it's only been a few days since my second therapy session, but I have noticed a change. And I noticed that the voice is still there, um, but I could see it more clearly. I could hear it, and I could pause before responding to it is the really important part. And even if you are not going through ketamine therapy and you are just going through life in general, I encourage you to practice being aware of that voice and practice pausing before responding or reacting to that voice. Okay, now this second experience was for me very similar to the first. It was a little more in depth, and I went in again with an open mind, no expectations, no specific things that I was hoping to get from it. It was just open and curious. And one way that I really describe what I experienced through this was it was like watching a storm roll in. But this time I was inside the house. I was safe. The storm still came, but I wasn't caught in it. And I really feel that I had been beginning to approach my voices and my struggles in this manner even before the session. And it was interesting how much more heightened and intense it was. Um, I still had um, sensations and images and feelings of discomfort and fear. And again, I just use the word ick to describe. It was almost like the fear of the unknown, where I was being taken back in life to circumstances and places that just didn't have a warm fuzzy with them. Um, and again, I would begin to feel myself kind of starting to close off and to think, oh no, I don't want to go down there. This hurts. This is ick. I don't want to know what's behind this feeling. Um, but I didn't run from it. I just sat with it and I felt comforted as I felt these ick emotions that would normally make me freeze up and make me become quiet and curiously unsure of what was behind these emotions. So I don't know if any of this is making sense. But what I noticed after the session is that I am now a lot more confident when I have feelings and memories of past experiences and past sensations because I don't really know what these feelings are attached to. And I don't know if I ever will, but I do know that sometimes I will get this overwhelming feeling like unsafe and uh, just ick, like painful, scary. But I don't run from them now. I'm able to understand that, okay, I have these feelings. They're very uncomfortable, but it's going to pass. And I allow myself to talk myself through it, to breathe myself through it. Um, and one of the big things that I noticed after Thursday, well, actually, there's a couple of things. One thing is that for me, with processing trauma and processing that goes on in these sessions, I need at least 2 days afterwards to let the noise in my head settle. And when I say noise in my head, I don't necessarily mean voices talking or um, like traumatic events being vividly replayed, but I just feel that my head is very busy. And again, I come to that snow globe image where when you shake a snow globe and everything is floating around. And it's not all bad. Like there's good emotions. It's just a lot of noise in my head. And I understand now that when we do have times in life where our head does feel really noisy, we don't have to judge ourselves. We don't have to try and tell that noise to stop or fight that noise. We can simply just recognize that there is noise in our heads and we need to take time to let that noise settle. And this is something that, again, take the ketamine out of it. And I really feel that everybody can benefit by understanding that sometimes there is just a lot going on and we need to just pause and let those things settle. Um, but the other part of it too is I think that we're often conditioned to believe our inner critic is some kind of a truth teller. And we begin to believe, and we've over the years we've come to believe that whatever these little voices inside our heads are telling us is actually true. But what if that's just a pattern? What if it's just old fear, old traumas dressed up as logic, and our brains are actually tricking us? So for me now, and what I want to share with you all, even if you're not doing this ketamine, is when that noise shows up, practice saying, and even say it out loud, I hear you. But then pause. Don't argue with it. Don't try to disapprove it. Just acknowledge that it's there. Just like you would, for example, an old roommate who's always complaining. You don't need to let them move back in. Just nod and let them talk and move on. Over time, you can begin to allow these voices to have that same space. Yep, you're there, but you know what? I'm not giving you any more attention than just simply knowing that you're there. Do your blah, blah, blahing, and I'm going to move on. So this week, I do challenge you to try that. When the voices come, and the voices will, practice noticing it instead of becoming it. And ask yourself, what if I didn't believe this thought right away? What if I didn't believe this thought right away? You don't need to fight those voices. Just make some space between you and the voice. And this is where your power lives, in that pause and in that space. And if you want to know a little bit more about this pause and the space to make space between you and the voice, I strongly encourage you to check out Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he does a lot of talking about making space to just allow emotions to be. So for me, the second round of ketamine um, has not really given me an ease on the struggle, but more so how to put a little bit more room between me and those voices and allowing that pause to be there so I can choose how I respond to those noises. Okay. So this was week number 2. Um, I hope that it made some sense, and I hope you got some takeaways that even though if you're not going through ketamine therapy, I'm hoping that you can still take some of these practices and learn to incorporate them because it is possible to do this. It is possible to pause and to learn to just let those noises be there, but not have to react and respond to them right away. So, again, I thank you all so much for spending your time with me and for joining me on this journey. And I will be back in a couple of weeks with episode number 3 after third session of my ketamine therapy, which will be in a few weeks. I wish you guys all a fabulous day. I appreciate your time. And until next time, remember your power is in the pause, and it's okay to practice putting space between you and the noise. Much love, my friends.